Today, we break down a $33 trillion opportunity for XRP. And I should clarify that this is a $33 trillion opportunity for XRP in 2026. Not an opportunity over the next 5 to 10 years, an opportunity for XRP to potentially capture this year. And we should also mention that this is only one of many addressable markets for XRP that reach into not just the trillions with a T, but tens and hundreds of trillions of dollars. We're talking about quadrillions of addressable market for digital assets like XRP. How big of a piece of a pie or that pie will we get? Well, that's the bet that we're making, and that's the research that we're conducting so that we can make that bet in an educated fashion. Now, if you appreciate this content, please help us out by liking all of our videos, sharing them out far and wide if you find value in them. And if you're new here, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell. Real quick, I'm going to plug our sponsor just to remind everybody because there's only 1 week left to go to fund your IRA for 2025. Our sponsor, iTrust Capital, will help you get it done. Their platform is an award winning platform enabling clients to buy and sell dozens of cryptocurrencies and precious metals within a self directed IRA. Get the tax advantages, buy and sell it 24/7, 365, no monthly fees, no AUM. It's free institutional grade custody. And I'm just letting everybody know because you have 1 week to go to fund that IRA for 2025. You have some time here to get it done, but the clock is ticking. Take advantage of it. Sign up down below for a $100 funding bonus. Let's get right on into it, folks. Breaking this morning, the White House Council of Economic Advisors has released its study on stablecoin yield and its potential impact on deposit flight and bank lending. The same report I noted last month that Senate banking lawmakers were pressing the White House to release. Huge shout out to Eleanor Terrett for being on top of this one. The TLDR is that banning stablecoin yield would do little to boost bank lending, impose cost on consumers, and concerns around deposit flight are overstated. So basically, the White House is calling out the banks on their BS. The data at baseline eliminating yield increases lending by just 0.02%, about 2.1 billion, and results in a net welfare loss. On deposit flight, the report finds those concerns are, quote, quantitatively small, noting most stablecoin reserves remain within the banking system, with only a limited share truly removed from lending activity. In short, a yield prohibition would do very little to protect bank lending while foregoing the consumer benefits of competitive returns on stablecoin holdings, the executive summary reads. So, a huge shout out to the White House for calling out the banks on their BS. We really do appreciate that. And we've also seen that the FDIC and others have moved forward, opened up for comment on the rulemaking process in regards to the stablecoin bill, which was passed last year, the Genius Act. And I want to remind everybody that even when the Clarity Act does pass, it is still going to take some time for that rulemaking process to be conducted. And then we'll be talking about really opening up our market, full clarity, full rules of the road and regulation. And then we can start to see the $33 trillion opportunity for 2026 is going to be turning into an opportunity that's hundreds of trillions of dollars per year. Now, the opportunity that we're talking about relates to stablecoins, and this was put out by Ripple at the XRP Tokyo event. Check out this flyer that they just released here. The $33 trillion opportunity to unlock revenue growth with stablecoin powered solutions. So they are expecting on chain volume to exceed $33 trillion this year. Stablecoins are the new standard for enabling global liquidity. Modern fintechs are no longer asking if they should adopt stablecoins, but how quickly they can integrate them to stay ahead of the competition. Now, why is this an opportunity for XRP, and is it only an opportunity for XRP? Absolutely not. This is an opportunity for every crypto. But we have to acknowledge that we're in that competitive race, and we need to allow that to motivate us to move some of these other features, amendments, programmability. I just saw that the UNL list got updated on the XRP ledger. We got to get our ledger ready to handle these volumes, which are going from billions to hundreds of billions. Now we cross over trillions, and it is expected this year over 33 trillion of on-chain stablecoin flows. Now, is this going to pump the price of XRP? You better believe that if we get a fraction of that moving on the XRP ledger, that it is going to be driving demand for XRP. Absolutely. See, it's important that we don't just get assets tokenized and their value represented on chain. You want to see that volume. You want to see that flow of liquidity. And that's the addressable market or the opportunity here, over $33 trillion in 2026. And we're already a few months, we're in Q2 now of 2026. So we have to be moving quickly. Obviously, we don't want to break our ledger. But I want to note that this is just one of many addressable markets for the XRP ledger to capture and flows that we can bring onto our chain. And if we don't do it, somebody else will. And I've placed my bets. I got some Canton. I got some HBAR. I'm picking up a few other plays like that. Zebek for payroll solutions. That's another addressable market. Not quite as big as this one, but a respectable one nonetheless. But the reason why I've always been drawn to XRP is because it has the potential to bring and solve some of these bigger payment problems that stretch into the trillions of dollars on a daily basis, like Swift, which moves 5 to 6 trillion on a daily basis, right? You have other networks that are moving trillions of dollars on a daily basis. And the stablecoin on-chain volume expected at $33 trillion this year, that's only in 2026. So if we get ready, we start to get a piece of that pie this year, we can get a piece of that pie next year and for the years to come. And we're literally talking about hundreds of trillions and even quadrillions of dollars moving on chain and moving as far as flowing on chain as well. Not just being represented on chain, but actually liquidity flows on chain where each transaction is burning XRP. Yes, it's negligible. It's not much, but it does add up. But more importantly, it locks up more XRP. It drives demand for more people to hold XRP. And that's all bullish for XRP as well. Now, yesterday, we talked about Japan in the reverse carry trade update. Got a lot of great feedback on that. I appreciate you guys for, sharing out the content far and wide. So thanks for, those who are. But we talked about the reverse carry trade in Japan and how we had an ex-BOJ member note that the Bank of Japan might be forced to panic, raise rates a little bit more than expected, and do it sooner than June or July. And we talked about how a tokenized Japanese yen is the solution for the Bank of Japan and for central banks around the world that are lacking demand for said fiat currency and treasuries. They need demand. Stablecoins are the solution. But there's an interesting problem, a little hurdle that's getting in the way in Japan. And SBI, they just found a little way around it. So what we're looking at right here is there's a 1 million yen transaction limit under Japan's current regulatory environment. And so what this means is for foreign issued stablecoins like USDC, when treated as electronic payment instruments via registered intermediaries, they would not be able to send more than 1 million yen in any payment. Now, this limit is about $6,000 to $7,000 US. So we're talking about retail flows. This is not even close to being able to handle, we want to move 33 trillion on chain. Well, in Japan, it's going to take a lot of transactions, right? And so SBI VC Trade President Kondo Tomohiko stated at the XRP Tokyo event that the 1 million limit won't work in practice, especially for corporate use. Of course it won't. 6,000 to 7,000 US at a time, you're not moving much. But for RLUSD, SBI plans to handle it differently using existing frameworks, including the group's SBI Shinsei Trust Bank, a trust-type structure that allows them, they can allow higher or effectively unlimited transfers if properly structured as specific trust beneficiary rights handled by a licensed trust bank. So, SBI, we've been talking about how invested they are in Ripple, the XRP ecosystem. They're involved in Evernorth, the public DAT, digital asset treasury company for XRP, that I'll be talking about in the next slide. SBI has been here from the start. They're doubling down on their investments, and I love the workaround that they found here to increase the amount of flow. Now, this is the same approach that SBI is using planning for their own yen stablecoin, the JPYSC, to enable unrestricted use. So we finally are getting confirmation that SBI is going to be launching their own tokenized yen. And I'm excited to see, I'm sure they'll issue it on the XRP ledger and maybe a couple other blockchains as well, just like Ripple issued RLUSD on XRP and Ethereum. Tether and Circle are on dozens of blockchains, right? So this is probably going to be listed on a couple, but you already know it's coming to the XRP ledger. And this brings us back to that $33 trillion opportunity of on-chain stablecoin volume that we need to be capturing. SBI is going to help us with that. And I also think that we're going to get a little bit of help from the public digital asset treasury company, Evernorth, as well. So let's break that down. So just yesterday, Evernorth filed their amendment number 1 to its Form S4. This was filed yesterday, and it advances their proposed business combination with Armada Acquisition Corp, targeting a NASDAQ listing under the ticker XRPN as the largest public XRP treasury company. Now, Evernorth is going to be so interesting because they are working outside of Ripple. They don't have the same limitations as Ripple. So they're going to be making other investments in DeFi, in helping other, companies bring tokenized real-world assets on chain. So not just stable coins on chain, but other real-world assets as well. They're going to be investing in the XRP ecosystem and infrastructure. They're going to be investing in XRP DeFi. And all of this comes back to hoarding XRP supply and taking it out of available supply that would otherwise be ready to facilitate this $33 trillion problem, right? You're going to need some XRP to move those numbers. You're going to need an XRP at a much higher price. And depending on how high XRP is going to determine on how much XRP you will need. The problem is if XRP is being hoarded by Joe Blows like myself to the tune of hundreds of thousands and millions of XRP holders storing away XRP, plus you have digital asset treasury companies like Evernorth that are hoarding XRP, you start to do the numbers on this equation and you realize, wait, there's way less XRP circulating and available for this liquidity than what we are being led to believe by CoinMarketCap and other websites that are listing, the circulating supply of XRP 60 billion. There isn't even 6 billion XRP circulating and available for this type of liquidity flow unless Ripple were to set aside, 5 to 10 billion for that flow, which they could, right? But we get back to that supply shock scenario, which obviously we're not there yet. But you look at how all of this is coming together. All of this drives value and demand for XRP, whether it be the 33 trillion of on-chain volume that we're going to be looking to, get a piece of this year, whether it be tokenized real estate, private equity, credit, other real-world assets tokenized on-chain, or whether it just be crazy Joe Blows like me that just want to tuck it and bury it in my backyard, and it's just not going to move from my wallets. It's never going to be available. It's never going to be circulating unless my children do something like that with it. And maybe I'll just escrow it so the children can't touch it. Maybe I'll do that. On top of this, we're still seeing inflows starting to return back into XRP ETFs. And we had Evernorth point out an interesting data point right here. Last week, it was reported that 25% of institutions plan to add XRP exposure in 2026, per a recent survey from EY, Parthenon, and Coinbase. Now, what was missed here is that XRP saw the largest increase in the percentage of institutions planning to add exposure across major tokens. So when you look at this graphic, they're pointing out here that the difference between how much of a percentage of allocation they have now versus what they plan on adding, the biggest jump or increase is in XRP. So a lot of institutions already exposed to Bitcoin, already exposed to Ethereum, and net any other coin. Yeah, so for other coins, this is growing. And Solana's right up there as well. So is Chainlink. But the difference here is only 2% on Solana. It's only 6% on Chainlink. And you're looking at about a 7% difference on Ripple, which is actually XRP, uh, for those who have exposure now versus who are looking to add exposure. So another bullish indicator that institutions are looking to acquire XRP as well, which once again drives us back to the question is, how much XRP is actually going to be available to handle some of these bigger liquidity flows that are going to be trillions of dollars on a yearly basis? And as we grow this, we might even be moving to trillions of dollars on-chain volume on a daily basis down the road. And if XRP can just capture a portion, just a little bit of that, how much XRP is actually going to be available to handle that? And what price does XRP need to go to help facilitate that liquidity as well? And so we highlight this opportunity to show you once again that Ripple and XRP is not here to solve small problems. There's not little niche problems here or there. They're going after some of the largest addressable markets and problems in the world. And I always say it's the trillion-dollar problems that turn me on. The problems that reach into the tens of trillions, hundreds of trillions, and even quadrillions. We can talk about derivatives. That's another opportunity. But we highlight just one use case here today, and it's a $33 trillion opportunity this year. So let's remind ourselves during this bear market to think bigger. Go look at the numbers themselves. The numbers don't lie. This isn't baseless hopium. This is real analysis backed with real data. The only question that remains, how much of this action are we going to get? You guys let me know in the comments down below. And if you appreciate these updates, please help us out by liking the video, sharing it out far and wide. And all of our community resources are available at zachrector.com. Thank you and God bless you all. I am your host, Zach Rector. I really appreciate all of the love and support. If you want to support the channel, just remember that you can start by smashing that thumbs up for me, sharing this content far and wide, and everything else is at my website.